Okay, let's get into this. You sent over this really fascinating article, Curiosities of Pope Francis, an atypical pontiff.
Yeah, that title alone kind of grabs you, doesn't it?
It totally does. Hence, we're not getting the usual sort of, formal biography.
Right.
This piece is just packed with these moments that make you stop and go, wait, really?
Yeah.
It shows how this one guy, Jorge Bergoglio, Pope Francis, has sort of shaken things up since, what, 2013?
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like he's caught the attention of people way beyond the usual church circle.
Exactly. And your notes, they really picked up on how he keeps, like, sidestepping tradition and actually connecting with people. For real.
Mm-hmm.
So our mission today, let's zoom in on these interesting bits, the stuff that makes you think, huh, never really thought about it that way.
Sounds good. And thinking about why these seemingly small things actually say quite a lot about leadership, about influence.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And we have someone here who can help us connect those dots.
Looking forward to it. It's definitely intriguing, this whole atypical pontiff idea from the get-go.
Yeah. And it hits you right away with the firsts. I mean, okay, first Argentinian pope,
Yeah.
sure, but first Latin American pope ever.
And huge.
And the first Jesuit. That's where it gets really interesting for me. These aren't just trivia points, are they?
Not at all. They signal a massive shift, potentially, in the church's global identity, its priorities.
And choosing the name Francis. Right after St. Francis, the saint of humility, nature.
It immediately set a tone, didn't it? Like a declaration of intent, almost.
Definitely. Choosing a pope from Latin America, that's got to mean something big, right? Given the number of Catholics there.
Oh, absolutely. It suggests a real shift in the church's center of gravity, maybe. An acknowledgement of, the global south and its importance.
And the Jesuit thing, what does that bring?
Well, the Jesuits have this long history of intellectual work, education, but also a really strong commitment to social justice. So that background, it inevitably shapes his whole approach.
Right, right. Okay, then the article dives into his habits, which are, frankly, pretty surprising.
The down-to-earth stuff.
Yeah, like before he was pope, Cardinal Bergoglio in Buenos Aires lived super simply. Tiny apartment, not the fancy palace.
Cooked his own meals, apparently. Took the bus.
The bus, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Chatting with everyone. And even now, as pope, he ditched the opulent papal apartment.
For the Santa Marta residence, yeah.
More communal, carries his own briefcase, paid his own hotel bill back when he was elected, the story goes. These seem like small things, but how do they actually impact his image, his message globally?
I think it's huge. That deliberate rejection of the usual papal grandeur, it sends a really powerful signal.
About what, though?
About humility, maybe? Solidarity with ordinary people. It reframes papal authority away from being this distant, almost untouchable thing. In a world where, let's face it, trust in big institutions is shaky.
Yeah, that relatability factor must be massive.
It really can be.
Okay, and then there's he's a huge football fan.
Huh? Yeah, the San Lorenzo connection.
A proper supporter, still has his membership card, gets team jerseys. What do you make of that? This blend of, spiritual leader and just a regular guy who loves his team.
Well, it's incredibly humanizing, isn't it? Cuts right through the expected formality, shows a passion lots of people share.
Totally.
And the article mentions, he connects it, right? Teamwork, fighting corruption in sports, links it to broader values.
Yeah, it's clever. Like saying the rules that matter on the field, they matter everywhere else too.
Exactly. Makes big ethical ideas feel more, accessible.
Right. Okay, and the language thing.
Yeah.
Speaks loads of languages. Spanish, Italian, German, French, Latin, bit of English.
An impressive list.
But that Argentinian accent, it's
Yeah.
still very much there. Seems like a small detail, but it feels authentic.
I think it does. Holding on to that accent, it really underlines his roots, his identity. In our globalized world, that kind of consistency can read as genuine.
Yeah, how so?
Well, maybe people from similar backgrounds feel a stronger connection. And for everyone else, it gives his international presence a unique flavor, a reminder of where he's from, no matter the stage.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, prepare yourself for this one. Before the priesthood, he was a chemistry technician.
Right, I saw that. Not your typical path.
Not at all. And the article suggests this science background actually informs his papacy, especially like his push for dialogue between science and faith.
And Laudato Si, his big environmental encyclical.
Exactly, his stance on climate change. So the question is, how does having that scientific mindset potentially shape how he tackles these huge global issues?
It probably gives him a solid grasp of scientific method, the importance of evidence. That could definitely feed into why he's willing to engage so directly with scientific consensus on things like climate change.
So it's not just faith driving it.
It seems like it adds another layer, another dimension to his moral and theological arguments. It's an appeal informed by, a scientific way of thinking, too.
Interesting. And his health. He had lung surgery way back. Other issues more recently. Yet he keeps this insane schedule.
And apparently with a sense of humor about it all.
Yeah, that resilience. It seems to connect with people. It's fascinating, isn't it? How he manages the physical side while staying so public.
That dedication, despite health challenges, it sends a message. Perseverance. And the humor makes him seem, human.
Yeah. Acknowledging limits, but not being defined by them.
People really do respond to that authenticity.
And you know what else feels authentic? His knack for these memorable, kind of off-the-cuff lines. The article highlights them.
Like the "Kin soy yo para juzgar," who am I to judge?
Yes, or telling young people to make a mess. It's so direct, informal almost.
It really is.
How does that kind of style, that less traditional way of speaking, how does that break down barriers, do you think?
I think it makes the papacy seem less remote, more approachable. Like he's not just talking at people from on high.
Yeah, less pronouncements, more
Yeah.
dialogue.
Exactly. Those kinds of phrases can really land with people who maybe feel a bit disconnected from, more formal religious language.
Okay, let's talk media. He's not personally tweeting away, right?
No, not him directly.
But his official accounts,
Mm-hmm.
millions of followers, huge reach. Yet he's also critical of misinformation, digital addiction, wants ethical tech use.
It's a real balancing act, isn't it?
How does he manage that? Using the tools, but also warning about them.
It shows he gets the power of these platforms for connection, for spreading messages globally. But he's also clearly aware of the dark side, the fake news, the way it can consume us.
So it's a nuanced view.
Yeah, I'd say so. Technology is this powerful tool, but one that needs careful, ethical handling.
His travel choices, too.
Yeah.
The article points this out. He often goes to places popes haven't visited, countries facing real struggles.
Often overlooked places.
Right. And these trips, they feel like more than just photo opportunities. They carry weight. Messages about peace, social commitment.
The choice of destination itself becomes the message, in a way.
What's the significance there, do you think? Prioritizing those places.
It really underlines his focus on the margins, doesn't it? On the people and places that don't always command the world's attention. It's showing solidarity in a very tangible way.
Putting his words into action.
Exactly. Shining a light on poverty, conflict, injustice on a global scale.
And those moments.
Yeah.
Wow. The article mentions the little kid who just wandered up to the altar during a ceremony.
Mm-hmm. And the man with neurofibromatosis he embraced.
Yeah. In those moments, it feels like protocol, formality, it just evaporates. It's just pure human connection. What does that tell you about his core values?
It shows this deep empathy, I think, and a willingness to put that human connection above rigid rules. It's a glimpse of faith as something lived, felt, not just, a checklist of formalities.
Laudato Si gets a big mention, as it should. That encyclical on the environment.
A landmark document.
And it's interesting how it links caring for the planet directly to moral responsibility. It got praise even from outside the church.
It did. Secular leaders, scientists.
So thinking about his background, again, the science, the Latin American roots, the Jesuit training, how did all that shape this particular message, make it so powerful?
Well, that unique mix, science, theology, a perspective from the global south, likely contributes to how holistic Laudato Si is. It connects everything.
It's not just a spiritual plea, then.
No, it draws on scientific understanding, too. It builds this case for environmental stewardship as a moral duty that affects absolutely everyone, faith or no faith.
Okay, but it's not all been easy.
Yeah.
The article touches on this. He's pushing for reforms inside the Vatican. Financial reforms, structural changes.
And facing resistance, internal opposition.
Yeah, which highlights just how tricky it must be trying to change such a huge, ancient, tradition-bound institution. What stands out to you about that tension? Progress versus tradition.
Oh, that resistance is almost guaranteed in any institution like that, isn't it? With centuries of history, entrenched structures.
Sure.
It just shows the incredibly delicate balancing act. You need to push for reform, meaningful change, but also try to maintain unity, navigate all these different opinions within the church itself.
Yeah, leading change is never simple, I guess.
Especially not on that scale.
And through it all, the Argentinian roots are still there.
Yeah.
Loves his mate tea, tango. The article even mentions a girlfriend he had when he was young.
Ah, yeah, those personal details.
They just make him seem so much more relatable, don't they?
Yeah.
Humanizes this global figure.
Absolutely. Holding on to those cultural connections, it keeps him grounded, perhaps. Reminds everyone that even world leaders have personal histories, everyday preferences.
It's pretty wild the article closes by mentioning documentaries about him, even a comic book.
Seriously, a comic book.
Yeah. Which just goes to show his impact goes way beyond just religious followers. He's a figure in popular culture.
That's fascinating.
So what is it about him? What makes him such a compelling figure for so many people in today's world?
Gosh, it's probably a combination of things, isn't it? That willingness to challenge tradition, his focus on social justice, climate change, things that feel really relevant now.
The style, too.
Definitely. That compassionate, approachable manner, the way he communicates it just seems to cut through and resonate with people from all different backgrounds in a world that feels really polarized.
Yeah.
He offers this image of moral leadership that, for a lot of people, seems to transcend the usual religious divides.
So wrapping this up then, this deep dive, looking at Pope Francis through the lens of this article, it really paints a picture of a leader who's, well, different.
Unconventional, certainly.
Through these choices, these actions, some big, some small and personal, he's really captured global attention way beyond his own flock, so to speak.
From the simple lifestyle, the football, to the big stuff like Laudato Si's and his focus on the marginalized.
And that sense of humor, the directness, he's bringing a unique energy to a very, very traditional role.
He really is.
And here's something maybe for you, the listener, to think about. The article points out how, in our often very divided world, he manages to get respect even from people who don't share his faith at all.
That's a key observation.
So the question to mull over is, why? What is it about his actions, his persona, that manages to bridge those divides? What allows him to connect so broadly?
Yeah, what's the magic ingredient there, if you like? Definitely something worth pondering after we finish up here.